it's time to sit back and relax with your favorite drink. And listen. Well, danger doesn't lurk at every corner. No, it's just hanging out waiting for fear and horror to show up, as we will see in tonight's story. If you're in Greensley next to Forever 21, please look out for the mannequin in the window, the one that looks like it's crying. I'm not a fan of shopping malls. Why shop in real life when online stores exist? It baffled me that people preferred shopping in public when they could sit in the comfort of their own home with a frothy latte, the newest styles just a tap away. Well, my parents, though, are not exactly technologically advanced. Sure, they own a phone and an iPad, which they're practically glued to all day. But Mom is convinced that if she uses her credit card online, some anonymous scammer will empty her bank account. Well, those things do happen. I'm not saying they don't. But Mom won't even online shop on big brown clothing sites, ones that have a very clear "We are not a scam" banner at the bottom of the page. Well, over the last year, she's been kind of forced to use online stores, but Mom still hates it. She still asks me 100 times if the transaction is safe, and then goes into panic mode when the page freezes. Well, it doesn't freeze because of some faceless entity stealing all her saving. Well, it freezes because she taps "Buy now" repeatedly. The only site Mom trusts is Amazon. It took her a year to fully get used to buying things. Well, I guess she was forced to get used to it. When we went into lockdown, Mom had to swallow her stubbornness. Well, unlike my mother, I don't go to the mall unless I absolutely have to, or my friend drags me there on a day out. I prefer the park or maybe the local swimming pool, but Nina wasn't the type to argue with. When she rang me a few days ago, excitedly gushing about a shopping trip she'd been planning all morning, I felt like I had to say yes. I'd graduated back in May, and I'm taking a gap year before college next year. Nina was doing the same, but job searching wasn't on her mind. No, shopping was. She was talking so fast, so convoluted, I could barely understand her, but I got the gist of it. It was sale season, and Nina was eager to be the first in line. Now, I'm not sure if I've made it clear, but I hate going out in public. I've suffered from anxiety since I was a kid, and, untreated, it bled into my teenagehood. I take meds for it, and I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I still hate enclosed spaces, such as our local mall. I'm fine going to school or work, but being in a crowd is just a no-no. Well, Greensley is a small town, and I like that. Nina wants to move to New York or LA, but city life terrifies me. I can't even go to the mall without freaking out, and I can't imagine what moving to a big city like New York would do to me. Anyway, I didn't exactly have a choice that day. Mum and Dad were at work, and I used the excuse that I was job searching with Nina. Well, it started out fun. We got takeout noodles from a fancy Japanese restaurant that Nina insisted on paying for, and we scoured Barnes & Noble. The problem started when Nina got to the clothes stores. I say stores, but she spent pretty much all afternoon in Forever 21. Well, sure, I like looking at clothes, but Nina takes ages. Last summer, during a heatwave, she took nearly 3 hours in one store. I was hoping history wasn't going to repeat itself. After all, I had told her multiple times I didn't want to spend forever in the clothing stores, and Nina had laughed, insisting that she wouldn't be more than half an hour. When an hour had passed and she was still staring at the same dress and bag combo, I realized I had made a mistake. 2 hours passed, then 3. I'm not sure what I ended up doing. Forever 21 was right in the middle of the mall, just next to the food court. I knew the exits by heart, but once my stomach started twisting with nausea, that oh so familiar prick of panic creeping up my spine, my palms grew sweaty. I tried to follow Nina, tried to give her compliments, but after several pathetic ones, riddled with the same adjectives, I ended up walking around aimlessly. I tried to distract myself with my phone, but the smell of food was making me feel sick. There was a record store opposite. I spent maybe 2 minutes in there. But the music was too loud, and the crowd outside was growing. I felt like I was suffocating behind my mask. I had to get out. That's all I could think. I had to get out. I had to suck actual air into my lungs or I was going to die. Well, that was my mind talking. I know it was. I know it was stupid, but once the thought was rooted, I couldn't suppress it. I felt like I was drowning. I could no longer remember the exits. I could taste the noodles from my lunch in the back of my throat. I was going to throw up. My mind kept telling me I was going to throw up, and everyone was looking at me. I find it hard to tell people that I'm sick, so I end up not telling them. I keep it to myself and pray that I start to feel better. Except by that point I was shaking. I could barely breathe, and I kept swallowing bile coating the back of my throat. When I found Nina standing in front of a mirror, holding a dress to her slim figure, I had to choke back a sob. "Hey," I tried to smile, tried to act like I was fine. "Nina, we've been in here for ages." "Oh, he's cute." Nina cut me off, twirling around, her blonde hair a halo in her face. I've always envied her looks compared to mine. While Nina looks like a model, I'm kind of bland. In her hands were a combination, the exact same skirt. I struggled to figure out what she was talking about, when my gaze followed hers. Nina was talking about a mannequin a few meters away. Forever 21 had a guys and girls section, with the girls section being downstairs and the guys at the bottom of an escalator. Although in the girls section for the summer-fall collection, there were a myriad of mannequins, both male and female. The one Nina was staring at was an adult male mannequin. It wore a tight black shirt, skinny jeans, and sunglasses. Like my friend, once I caught sight of it, I couldn't look away. Nina must have been thinking the same as me because she turned to me, a grin plastered on her lips. "Min?" She marched over to the mannequin and ran her manicure down the material of its t-shirt. "This is the hottest freaking mannequin I've ever seen," she gushed. "Are we totally sure he's not real?" Well, I was fairly sure not he, wasn't real. The thing was plastic, for God's sake. I couldn't help agreeing with her, at least in the back of my head. The mannequin didn't look human. No, that wasn't it. But it didn't look like a mannequin either. Well, if that makes any sense. Nina's eyes were wide. She cocked her head to the side, her lips curling into a frown. "I know this sounds crazy, but does he look familiar to you?" I expected her to be joking around, but her expression was deadly serious. I feel like I've seen him before. It's crazy, right? I folded my arms, giving the mannequin a once-over. She was right. I didn't recognize the face because there wasn't really one, at least not at first glance. When I looked closer, though, there were facial features I couldn't ignore. Looking past the plastic sheen, the perfect jawline, I realized I was seeing exactly the same. But, I'd never say that. Nina needed glasses but insisted on wearing contacts on a prescription that barely helped her. I had lost count of how many times I'd had to yank her out of the way of a car. "Him? Nina, it's a plastic doll." "But Min, how can you not see it?" She snorted out a laugh. "He's got actual eyebrows." Her eyes snapped to his lower torso and kept going. Well, I knew where she was looking and I felt my cheeks grow warm. "Nina, are you done?" Her gaze snapped me. Why that much detail, though? Her lips curved into a smirk and she squealed, nearly bumping into a passing woman who shot her an odd look. Is it so he can show off to the girl mannequins? I was slowly losing my patience. They're probably making them more human-like to market the clothes better. Nina scrunched up her face before sighing with a nod. She took a step back. I didn't move. Maybe it was a sick feeling that was growing worse in my gut, but my feet were glued to the floor. I wanted to look at the mannequin properly when a bustling crowd of teenagers weren't around me. part of me expected Nina to marvel at it more. Well, she shook her head with a grin. You're right, he's plastic, but he's kinda hot, right? She waggled her eyebrows at me. Is it weird that I'm crushing on actual plastic? I ignored the comment and forced myself to follow her to the changing rooms, where she spent nearly an hour picking out the best outfits. When Nina was done, the store was emptying. The sales assistant crept up behind us. She looked tired, though was somehow maintaining a Cheshire Cat grin. I wondered how many girls like Nina showed up on a daily basis. We close in 5 minutes. You two should head to the checkout counter. Nina bought 4 t-shirts and 3 dresses. When she was swiping her card, my dancing stomach decided it really needed to go to the bathroom. I was half aware of a bathroom by the changing rooms. Hey, I'm going to head to the bathroom, I said, my cheeks blazing. Don't wait for me, okay? I'll walk home. Just the idea of sitting in Nina's car without aircon for a 45-minute drive made me want to curl into the ground and die. Nina looked baffled, but she nodded. Are you okay? Her eyes narrowed. Min, you look kind of pale. I'm fine, I choked out, backing away. It's my time of the month. Okay. Nina's expression brightened then. Do you need a pad? I shook my head. No, it's fine. She nodded, swinging her bags around. The motion made me feel worse. Hey, do me a favor. My phone died, but I really want a picture of Daniel. Can you get one when you come out? Daniel? She giggled. Behind the counter, the sales assistant laughed along. The mannequin. You know, the hot one. Ah, yes. The sales assistant nodded while folding up Nina's clothes. Mannequins get a lot of attention, particularly the male ones. Well, we have had several boys taking selfies with the girl mannequins, too. It's adorable. Nina, with her usual charm, grinned. The one by the door is gorgeous. How do you make them so lifelike? No idea, the sales assistant shrugged. I've been here a while. I only started last year. Hey, Min. Well, Nina was now in Nina-land, though I wasn't surprised. Do you think if we grab him and run, we'll get caught? I didn't reply, dashing instead to the bathroom. I don't know how long I spent in there. I could hear voices from outside, staff shouting their goodbyes between colleagues. The noodles from the Japanese place didn't exactly agree with my stomach. I scrolled through my Instagram, searching for anything to distract me. Nina had already made a post with an unflattering snap of the two of us in front of a mirror. I liked and commented. I thought it was food poisoning, but I didn't throw up. I had the stomach pains and nausea, but I didn't actually barf. When the pop music stopped playing over the speakers and the lights flickered off outside, I panicked. The word wait was stuck in the back of my throat, but I swallowed it down. The bathroom, thankfully, was well lit. I did a quick once-over in the mirror. My cheeks were pale and I looked horrific, but at least Nina was gone now. When I hesitantly slipped through the gap in the door, I stepped out straight into the pitch-dark hallway leading back into the store. The lights were still on, though there was no sign of anyone. The checkout counters were empty. The shutters were yet to be pulled down, so I hurried for the exit. Instead of leaving the store, though, I found myself gravitating towards the hot mannequin once again, playing with my phone in my hands. Nina wanted a photo, and sure, I could tell her I didn't have time, but part of me wanted to snap a picture of it too. There was something about it, the way it was perched on its stand, human-like features carved into glistening white plastic. It gave me the creeps. Still, though, I took a few steps back and held up my phone, snapping several shots. When I looked at them, they were blurry and unfocused, so I tried again, this time with the flash on. I removed the Ray-Bans so I could get as much detail as possible. But once I could see eyes that were far too intricate, I snapped more photos to get it over with. Those mannequins' eyes were really freaking me out. If I suspended my disbelief for a moment, I found myself wondering how long the design had taken. Someone must have spent hours carving the Irish in each individual lash. I wasn't really paying attention to the mannequin. My attention was on the photo. I was staring at it, and the twisting feeling in my gut just got worse. But it wasn't because of food poisoning. No. I could have sworn the mannequin had blinked. Peering at the photo, it didn't look like a full blink. No. More like its eyes were flickering, moving. Oh. The voice, the male voice which sliced into the silence, a voice that shouldn't have been there, sent me stumbling backwards, my phone flying out of my hands and hitting the floor with an audible crack. In front of me, the mannequin's eyes had blinked open and were half-lidded, staring at me in confusion. No, I wasn't crazy. I was seeing emotion, actual emotion in its face. When it brought up its hands to stare down at them and then claw at its face, I realized it had fingernails. It moved like a human being, not like a plastic doll. The mannequin's gaze was stuck to its own hands, and then its eyes, its human eyes the color of warm chestnut, were settling on me. The longer I looked at it, or I guess him, I understood what Nina had said was right. The mannequin didn't look human. It looked too human to be plastic, to be a doll, and yet when I drunk him fully in, trapped in my own state of paralysis, he was starting to look less plastic, like it was dripping away, revealing light tanned skin. Fuck. The mannequin blinked, his voice a soft croak. When he blinked again, this time rapidly, I glimpsed veins of dark red bleeding to life. My heart catapulted. There was no way, I thought dizzily. There was no fucking way that much detail had been put in. There was no way I wasn't looking at a person. How long has it been? Its words were hitting the sound barrier, but I wasn't registering them. All I could think was that I had to get out. Whatever was happening, I wanted no part in it. I was hallucinating, I thought hysterically, taking slow steps back. 1 step. 2. But I couldn't turn around. Not yet. I couldn't stop staring at the mannequin, which was looking less and less like a mannequin by the second. I wasn't staring at a plastic doll. I was looking at a boy. No, a man, maybe 19 or 20. His expression, I could only see pain. I could only see fear, and it didn't make sense on a mannequin's face, because I was supposed to be looking at one, right? I'd been around him all afternoon, following Nina around. I'd passed him multiple times, and not once did I wonder if there was a living, breathing human under there. What I was seeing now defied logic and science and reality. It shouldn't have been real. It shouldn't have been staring at me right in the face. And so I did what any other person would do. I ducked down, grabbed my phone, and I ran. At least, I tried to run. I'd only taken 3 shaky steps before a sharp yelp filled the air. When I twisted around, the mannequin had crumpled to the floor. When he lifted his head to look at me, I caught tears glistening on those perfect cheeks. He was crying. "Please," he croaked, struggling to get up. But his body was failing him. Every time he tried, he dropped back down with a startled cry. I found my gaze gravitating towards his cheeks, and I swore something was chipping away from his cheek, falling away, tiny white flakes dancing in the air. Everything inside me, every instinct I had, was telling me to leave him, to run for it. But the boy was hysterical. It reminded me of a child who couldn't walk yet. When he failed to get up once again, I held out a trembling arm. "Please, you have to help me. I don't know where I am. I keep waking up and I don't know where I am. I see faces staring at me. I can't move. I can't fucking breathe. When he broke down, I found myself wrapping my hand around his arm hesitantly. I nearly let go, shivers spiking up and down my spine. I hadn't touched plastic. No, I touched skin. I touched skin that had been hardened to look like plastic. I couldn't help myself. The words slipped out. "You're a mannequin," I hissed out sharply. I couldn't stop myself from running my fingers up and down his arms, touching real skin. When I risked tracing his lips and nose and eyes, well, they were real. His hair, which had been slicked back, seemed to come to life, dark curls bouncing back into place. It didn't make sense to me. None of this made sense to me. He was a mannequin, but then he wasn't. He was an inanimate doll, and then he wasn't. The boy hissed out, waving me away. "Can you stop?" His eyes were wide, lips curled almost like an animal. "Do I look like a freaking mannequin to you?" But it's the camera flash," he muttered, more to himself than me. "The camera flash brings us back." Before I could speak, he sent me a panicked look, his eyes growing frenzied. "Dad, is Dad here?" "Dad?" I repeated with a whimper. He nodded. "I don't remember much, except Dad. All I remember is drowning. I remember screaming into freezing cold water. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't shout or cry. I was gonna die. Then I felt arms around me. It was Dad. He pulled me out and helped me breathe again. He gave me my breath back." There was a light smile on the boy's lips, as if he was reminiscing, before his expression darkened. Then he wouldn't let us go. He wouldn't let me see my mom, and when I tried to get out, he did something to me. He took away my thoughts and my breath, and I was lost. I was lost for so long. And then this boy... He trailed off, his voice breaking. "This kind boy. One day he brought me back. I don't know how, but I could breathe again. He told me he was going to get us out, all of us. He told me he was going to take us home, and I was going to see my mom again. And then Dad took him away, and I fell asleep again. I fell asleep until now." My mouth was filled with questions, but I choked them back when he forced himself up, holding out his arms to steady himself. When I offered to help, he shook his head. I watched him stumble over to another of the mannequins, a pretty female one brandishing a light pink summer dress and Ray-Bans. I didn't want to look properly at her, because I knew when I did, I'd get the same feeling. I wasn't looking at a mannequin. I was looking at a person. I didn't want to think that the mannequin was just like the boy. Trapped behind a spell I still couldn't understand, skin and blood and bodily organs armored under plastic. I thought about the way Nina had laughed at the mannequin hours earlier, shouting that the mannequin's body sent unrealistic expectations for women. Except, it was a real body. "Jessa," the boy whined. He stood on his tiptoes, wrapping his arms around her and trying to heave her off of the stand. He twisted around to face me. "Don't just stand there. I need to get her down. A camera flash brings us back, so do the same to her." And he was yelling, and I didn't have the heart to tell him my phone was dead. I'd maxed it out completely with the photos of him for Nina. I couldn't move. Watching the boy try to heave the female mannequin off of the stand, I wondered if I was losing my fucking mind. When he couldn't lift her, he dragged his feet over to a second male mannequin, one with a leather jacket and designer shirt underneath. "Noah," he said in a breath. "Fuck, I'll get you and Jessa out of here, okay? Just hold on a bit longer. We're all getting the fuck out of here." Without turning to me, his hand still grasping Noah's arm, the boy let out a choked sob. "What you did to me," he said shakily. "Can you do it again?" "My phone's dead," I said softly. "But, look, don't worry. I'm going to help you." The boy broke down, his knees hitting the floor. I felt the emotion writhing through him. "I need to get out," he was whispering, tearing at his hair. "I need to get out. Please, I need to get out. Please, help me get out. I just want to go home. I want my mom. I don't want to be here anymore." Somehow, I coerced words in my mouth. "You're not going to be," I said. "I'm getting you out." He looked skeptical, his gaze going to his lap. "All of us? You promise?" I nodded. "What's your name?" The boy lifted his head back to look at me, and I caught desperation in his eyes. "My name is Ben." A male grunt sounded, and the boy stiffened. "Young man, where are you? You know your father doesn't like it when you leave your stand." "Shit!" Ben grabbed me, struggling to pull me to my feet. His face was inches from mine, hot breath feathering my cheeks. If I had had any doubts before that he wasn't human, that moment crushed them. "The police," he said, grasping my hands and squeezing hard. "Go to the cops and bring them here. I don't think I can run, and I'll only slow you down. Listen to me. You have to get them to listen. Even if you sound crazy, get them to come here." I wanted to argue with him. I wanted to tell him that there was no freaking way the cops would believe me. And I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want to leave him here to a fate worse than death if I failed. "Ben Maddox," Ben whispered. His fingers entangled with mine, hot and sticky with sweat, and I reveled in the feeling of real human flesh. He was real. Ben was real, and I was going to get him out. I was going to end his nightmare. "My name is Ben Maddox." He then gestured to the exit. The shutters were halfway down. "Go." Footsteps. I had to slap a hand over my mouth. "Oh, Ben." The man's voice was soft. "You know I don't like it when you disobey me." Before I could speak, he jumped up on shaky legs and raised his arms. "All right, Dad. You got me," he said loudly, and I took that as my cue to make a run for it. I didn't think, I just ran. I ran until I was at the mall's exit, stepping out into fresh, cool air. It was night, and the sky was pitch black. The police station wasn't far, and I found myself sitting in a box-like room in front of a cop who looked about my dad's age with greyish hair and stains down his shirt. I'd been hysterical and out of breath when I'd run into the station. They provided me with a glass of milk that I kept sipping until my stomach complained. I could barely believe anything that had happened, and there were still holes I couldn't understand. Like how Ben and Jessa hadn't aged, and how their skin could look and feel so much like plastic. With doubt still haunting the back of my mind, I told the officers everything, ignoring their raised eyebrows and twitching lips. "Let me get this straight." He eyed me like I was crazy, and I felt crazy. The cop had a notepad, but when I glanced at it, he'd only written, "Forever 21, and mannequins." "You're telling me the mannequins in Forever 21 are actual people?" I nodded, gulping down the rest of my milk. "I know I sound crazy. Ben told me that, but if you just go there and see for yourself." "Ben?" The cop raised an eyebrow. The door slid open and a female officer strode in. I nodded. "Ben Maddox," I said sharply, and Jessa, I think her name was." "Ben Maddox?" The officers exchanged glances before the man fixed me with a steely glare. He sat back, picking up his notebook and flicking through it. "Young lady, have you heard of the Moorhead incident?" Something cold slithered down my spine. I shook my head, even when I had, at least vaguely. Mum had talked about it a few times, and maybe Nina, but I was never interested enough to ask them to expand on it. The woman came to sit opposite me. "Miss Atlas, Can you confirm you're talking about Ben Maddox and Jessa Sharp? Her eyes darkened. Because Ben Maddox and Jessa Sharp have been dead for 6 years. What? I couldn't resist a startled laugh, but the officers weren't smiling. The poor girl wanted to be an author. Well, it felt like my reality was crumbling before my very eyes. That was what Ben had meant by drowning and being saved. But they weren't dead. Whoever Ben's father was had taken them. No! I shook my head, my heart in my throat. I jumped up, slamming my hands down. No, I'm telling you, if you just go there, you'll understand. I spoke to Ben. He told me he'd nearly died. He told me he almost drowned, but someone had saved him. Someone, the officer repeated. Yes, the store owner, the boss. If you're playing a prank, it's one hell of a sick one, the woman said. Let those kids' souls rest in peace. When it became evident that they weren't listening to me, I begged them. I begged them because all I could think about was Ben and Jessa and the others being trapped there. When the male officer finally caved, the two of them drove me to the Greensley Mall. When I was back in front of Forever 21, the police by my side, I was confident. An oldish-looking man wearing a crinkled suit was standing outside, letting the shutters down. When he caught sight of us, his eyes narrowed, before he pasted on a smile. Evening, officers. He gestured to the shutters. I'm about to close up. He choked out a laugh. It's been one hell of a day. What can I do for you? Well, I'm going to have to ask to look inside, the male officer said, like it pained him to say it. The young lady here says your mannequins are actually people. He cleared his throat. Specifically, those of the Moorhead victims. The man's expression crumpled. Oh, wow. I'm not sure I understand. It'll only take a second. The male officer rolled his eyes. When the man pushed up the shutters, I rushed inside. The first thing I noticed was that Ben was gone. Jessa was still there, though a sweater had been thrown over her. Still, I ran over to her and shook the mannequin, uncaring how insane I looked. Jessa, I whispered, before twisting around to face the officers. Hey, do any of you have a phone? If you take a photo, they'll come back. The female officer shook her head. She joined me and knocked on Jessa's head. You're telling me this mannequin right here is 19-year-old Jessa Sharp? Yes. I was shaking and my blood was boiling. They didn't believe me. They didn't fucking believe me. Well, Ben was right here. He was here. And that guy? I pointed to the man. He did something to him. The man raised his arms with a scoff. Young lady, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you're talking about one of the male mannequins, I put him in the back for polishing. I don't have any kids, I promise. He was laughing. This bastard was laughing at me, and I looked out of my mind. Bring him out, I said stiffly. If you use flash in front of their eyes, they'll snap out of it. That's enough. The female officer grabbed my arm. Ma'am, I don't know what game you're playing, but I should arrest you for wasting an officer's time. Her grip was tight on my arm when she dragged me from the store. You're a disturbed little girl who needs psychological help, she spat. Jesus Christ, things you kids come up with these days to get attention. I was taken back to the station, and my mom was called. She didn't speak to me, keeping her head down. When we were leaving, and my mom was muttering about parking spaces and how much they cost, we passed the same room I'd been in. I glimpsed the store owner and the male officer. The two of them were sitting together. 50,000, the officer murmured. I ain't going any lower. The store owner cackled. Brave, Tom, but you have yourself a deal. He rose to his feet with a sigh. I'll make sure to keep him in check. Mina. My mom was pulling on my hand and dragging me from the station before I could try to tell her. Well, it's not like she believed me anyway. Well, I tried to tell her. I've told her multiple times. It's like talking to a brick wall. I went back to Forever 21 yesterday. Ben's in the window now. I feel like the store owner is mocking me, parading Ben in the window to show that he's triumphant. Oh, fuck him. I'm getting Ben out of there. So, do me a favor. If you're in Greensley next to Forever 21, please look out for a mannequin in the window. He's the one who looks almost lifelike. And if you look closer, it looks like he's crying. Well, I don't know how you feel about mannequins, but they scare the bejesus out of me. There's something just so damn creepy about them. So as soon as I saw that story, I knew I was going to have to read it for you all. What do you think of that one? Very intriguing idea. And looks like the bad guy got away with it, didn't it? Unless there's a part 2, that is, of course. So, thoughts, feelings, anything else you want to say in the comment section below the video? That's another one from Dr. Creepen's Vault, the subreddit I set up so you could share your stories with me and I could read them all for you. So, if you have a story, then put it there and maybe I'll read it. Oh, okay, that's it for... Oh, it's Tuesday, isn't it? I don't usually do a video on Tuesday. Well, I didn't do one last night, so it's only fair I did one tonight. So, back again very soon. Probably tomorrow night, to be honest. Not sure yet, but probably. Till then, very, very sweet dreams, and bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this story today. Really means a lot to me and to the author of the story, of course. Well, if you want to know more about me, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can download my music on SoundCloud. I've got a Patreon if you feel like. Throw me $1 or $2. Very much appreciated. And of course, on Reddit, I have a place where you can leave stories if you want me to read one that you've written. Well, hoping to see you all again very soon. Till then, sweet dreams, and bye-bye.